I can talk about a lot more. I don't know how much time you have. Pat, you and I,
Oh,
when we held one of these conversations a long time ago, I think it would be fair to say that you were surprised I was bringing a legalization of marijuana.
yes, I
Um,
was, Senator, but I've changed my mind recently.
well, let me just say that I knew way back then that the sky was not going to fall if we went in the direction of legalization. The other part of that problem is we had real substantial evidence of the number of Vermonters who were consuming. And I was not and am not one of them. But when I looked at people being arrested, people being hit with criminal records, and in some cases, in my early days of my legal career, people being jailed for simple possession charges, none of that made any sense. If you look at Vermont history is libertarian to the core. And when people are consuming something and not harming somebody else in that process, it made no sense to me that we were in a state that was literally still in the 1960s, in a war on drugs that was never successful in the way that it was intended. But we were spending an awful lot of money trying to win that war. There are all kinds of reasons why that process to me was wrong. And it also stems from a situation that I was in high school where I happened to be in a rock and roll band, and we were practicing at a house that got raided. And in an upstairs bedroom, the police found a couple of empty hashish pipes. And I mean this sincerely. There was nobody consuming at the moment in time that we were actually busted. But that bust led to me eventually going through law school, sitting down to fill out an application for the bar exam, and finding a question on there, have you ever been arrested? Um, I had gone through getting a citation to appear in court, but when we got to court, the prosecutor came out and said, we don't have the evidence back from the lab yet. If the owner of the house takes a $50 fine, we'll dismiss the charges against everybody else. And I literally went down with my parents to the police station where the chief of police tore up the file that he had on me having been arrested. So, I don't know, 10 years or so later, whatever it was, I'm sitting filling out this application. It says, have you ever been arrested? Well, the last words out of that chief's mouth were, as far as we're concerned, this never happened. And I'm about to answer that question on the application and say no, which technically would not have been true. Luckily, I paused. I went back to that police station, and lo and behold, there is a file with my face in a mugshot and my fingerprints on file.
Hmm.
That's where I learned about the expungement process, because I literally went through getting an expungement. And by law in that state, you are then entitled, once you get that expungement, to say, no, I've never been arrested or convicted or anything else. But I explained all that when I filled out the rest of the application for the bar exam. So they at least knew my story. And it's one of those things that led me to do a lot, including going through law school and eventually ending up thinking about politics. One of those great life events. But we're talking about other things I may have accomplished in the legislature.